Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, feel free to go back and view previous episodes. I'm your host, Gerald Tabb. There's a man in Dearborn named Soul who got struck by invisible lightning. Not metaphorically, literally. One morning, he woke up and the circuits of his memory were rerouted. The shock wasn't from the sky, but from something he carried too long. A trauma so old, it started speaking in static. Since then, every time someone raises their voice, he smelled burnt ozone. Every time he tried to sleep, his dreams glowed faint blue. Doctors called it psychosomatic flashback. He called it aftershock. Soul said the brain isn't a filling cabinet. It's a power grid. And when trauma hits, the lights flicker, the breakers trip. And sometimes you spend years trying to find the switch. It started out the day he heard a car backfire on Greenfield. The sound cracked open something he thought was buried. His vision split like lightning through glass. He dropped to one knee, gasping, not because he was scared, but because he remembered everything at once. The accident, the hospital smell, the nurse's trembling hands, the sound of someone saying he didn't make it. That was years ago, but trauma doesn't respect calendars. It waits like a surge protector, silent until overloaded. Soul said, flashbacks aren't about the past returning. They're about the brain refusing to believe it ever ended. There's a woman on Michigan Avenue named Dr. Vega who studies emotional electricity. She wires trauma patients to EEG caps, measures voltage. When they recall pain, says trauma isn't stored in memory, it's stored in rhythm. When Soul told her about the invisible lightning, she didn't laugh. She nodded and said, "That's just your amygdala misfiring." The body kept broadcasting long after the event. She showed him a graph. Sharp peaks when he said his brother's name, low valleys when he said his own. He asked, "Can you fix it?" She said, "You don't fix electricity, you ground it." That night, he stood barefoot in his backyard during a storm. Not for symbolism, for science. So the earth hummed back at him. Said the static finally had somewhere to go. Soul started noticing sound differently after that. Every noise became a trigger or a teacher. He met a man named Hayron who called himself a sound collector. Hayron believed every emotion had a frequency. He carried a field recorder everywhere, capturing the exact decibel where pain turns to peace. He asked Soul to describe what his trauma sounded like. Soul said, "A fluorescent bulb about to burn out." Hayron nodded. "That's not pain, that's persistence." He played Soul a mix, rain-hitting metal, muffled laughter through a wall, the low thump of a heartbeat, slowed by calm. Said, Listening long enough, and even pain develops tone. Soul started recording his panic attacks, just to hear how they ended. There's a clinic in Corktown that treats emotional weather. The patients don't check vitals. They check barometric pressure. The nurses measure humidity and grief. Soul went there after 3 nights of anxiety storms. A woman named May ran the place. She told him, trauma isn't a wound. It's climate change of the mind. She gave him a journal labeled forecast. He wrote, Monday, low pressure, intrusive thoughts. Tuesday, storm warning, felt like crying. Wednesday, partial clarity, deep breath, hold for 6 hours. By the end of the week, he noticed something strange. His panic was gone. It was predictable. May told him, when you can name your weather, you stop drowning in it. There's a tiny cafe in Highland Park called the Circuit Board, a place where people bring broken electronics and broken memories. Soul started going every Thursday. The owner, a quiet woman named Nadra, believed that if you fix something with your hands while talking about what broke you, your nervous system relearns repair. One night, as Soul soldered a busted radio, he whispered, "It's like every wire's been burnt twice." Nadra didn't answer. She just placed a copper coil in his palm. Wounds conduct healing grounds. He plugged in the radio. Static, then music, faint but clear. He laughed, said it sounded like forgiveness in AM frequency. There's a shop off Trumbull run by a woman named Suri who sells mirrors that remember what they've seen. Soul wandered in by accident, looking for quiet. Suri said, "These mirrors don't reflect faces. They replay emotions. You stand long enough, you'll see the moment you split." He looked into one, saw himself at 17, trembling in a hospital waiting room, saw the exact second his innocence disconnected from his future. Suri touched the glass. You can't erase reflection. You can only make peace with the image. He bought the mirror, hung it above his bed, and swore he saw his reflection breathe at night. Not haunted, just healing. Soul started eating breakfast at a small diner that served herbal pancakes. Sage for memory, lemon balm for calm. The cook, Miss Tanya, said she used to have panic attacks so bad her hands would seize on the spatula. She told him, "You know trauma's working when your body starts speaking louder than your mouth." He nodded, said his stomach turned to static every time someone mentioned sirens. She poured tea into his cup, the steam curling like thought. "Drink slow," she said. "Let the body believe it's safe." That morning, he realized food could be grounding. Flavor could be medicine. He took a bite of a lemon balm pancake and said it tasted like the first deep breath he'd ever taken. At a maker space downtown, Soul met a woman named Tara who built machines that erase unwanted memories. She wasn't a scientist, just a tinkerer with a soldering iron and a philosophy degree. She said, "You can't delete trauma. You can only scramble its power." She handed him a pair of headphones that looped soothing frequencies designed to confuse intrusive thoughts. "Let the brain rewire itself," she whispered. He listened for hours. The sounds were strange, half heartbeat, half thunder. After a week, he noticed something. His flashbacks didn't vanish. They just stopped arriving uninvited. He told Tara, "It's not gone, but it doesn't own the room anymore." She smiled. That's what healing sounds like. Soul began collecting his triggers, like puzzle pieces instead of landmines. Loud noises, hospital lights, the smell of disinfectant, the guilt of surviving. He labeled each one, studied them under curiosity instead of fear. He realized triggers are just doorways with alarms, meant to warn, not punish. When a car backfired one afternoon, he didn't collapse. He breathed, counted to 4, said quietly, "It's just sound, not history." The invisible lightning didn't strike this time. It flickered, then faded. On a humid morning, Soul found a small bird tangled in power lines behind his apartment. Its wings twitched, electricity crackling softly. He climbed the pole carefully, slow, and freed it with his bare hands. It flew away, leaving a faint static hum in the air. He stood there, trembling, not from fear, but from recognition. That bird was him. Years spent caught in invisible wiring, mistaking survival for flight. He whispered, "I forgive you for not knowing how to land." Dr. Vega called him back for a follow-up. She wired him up again, told him to think of something peaceful. He said, "I don't know what that feels like." She smiled, then imagined the absence of panic. They ran an EEG. The monitor pulsed in slow rhythm, soft and even. The brainwave pattern looked like a lullaby drawn in blue. She said, "Your nervous system finally believes the danger's over." He cried quietly, said, "I thought I'd never get there." Soul started volunteering at the circuit board cafe, teaching others how to solder. He noticed something. The acts of fixing small physical things rewired his sense of control. He told Nadra, "I think trauma drains belief faster than hope." She nodded, then recharged it in service. Every repaired radio became an affirmation. I still function. Every flicker of static became a hymn. I'm still alive. I don't know if Soul still hears lightning when people shout. I don't know if Dr. Vega still maps emotions and electricity, or if the weather clinic still tracks storms inside grief. But I know this. He stopped trying to silence the static. He started learning its rhythm. He realized trauma doesn't want you broken. It wants you aware. He no longer flinches at thunder. He listens. He no longer avoids mirrors, he reflects. He no longer fears memory, he conducts it. Because healing isn't peace, it's power redistributed. It's circuitry finding ground after years of shorting out. It's invisible lightning turning into light. And maybe that's what mental health really is. Not the absence of trauma, but the ability to stand in the storm and remember the body is still your home.